The opinions expressed here are those of the individual participants. Prairie Coast Community Radio takes no position on issues discussed in this program.
Hi, I'm Candice Michel, and this is Our Community. I'm joined again this week by my friends and colleagues Ray Gary, Rick McNamer, and Michael Gorse to further discuss the state of our nation under the current administration. Welcome back to the show, gentlemen.
Yay, we're glad to be here.
Yeah.
Yes, nice to be here.
Nice to be anywhere, actually.
And it's nice to be with friends, right? That you can actually talk about real things and not have to be careful about what you say.
As some of our friends start slipping away.
Yeah.
But
This isn't going to go out on air, is it?
Well, not today.
Yeah, right.
It's really
So
nice.
we got time to get away.
Exactly.
There you go.
We have time to escape.
It's nice to know that you people think I have a friend.
There you
God.
go. There you go.
We'll give you that much, right?
Boy, I'm glad I came today now.
I had a buddy in San Diego who used to refer to it as delusions of adequacy.
So, speaking of delusions, right? We've had another week, and I often watch MSNBC with my husband at night, which is actually delightful. Some of you may know that my husband used to be a Trump supporter, and he had Fox News on all the time, and it drove me to the brink of insanity. Somehow, along the way, at one point he stopped watching Fox News and started watching some other things, mostly because I insisted. I think I actually said, if you don't turn Fox News off, I'm going to put my fist through the TV, and I mean it. And I guess he thought I was telling the truth.
Those of us who know you know that that's probably exactly what was going to happen.
But you know what interesting thing happened was that as soon as he started watching other news, his perspective changed. And it was so delightful to actually be able to talk to him about the things that were really happening in the world, that were really going on.
You got a new husband all of a sudden.
I kind
a little
of
bit.
did. I mean, he's a little more disabled than the old one, right? A little older, but, mental faculties are declining. But we watch Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell, and Stephanie Ruhle and their various guests, who report on an attempt to explain the daily dumpster fires that are coming out of D.C. and the impacts of those on ordinary citizens. Stephanie started her show last night saying this was day 83 of Trump 2.0, but that it feels like day 883. And I could not agree more. It just feels like we have been under kind of this constant barrage of almost unbelievable things that we never really thought anybody in power was going to do in our country. And yet they're happening like on a daily basis.
It's the Twilight Zone.
It's insane.
Shock and awe.
It is. And of course, the constancy of the attacks and the resulting chaos and overwhelm is, of course, the point. Her panel's focus was on the stocks and bonds market, which I found very interesting, and how every financial expert, even those that had supported Trump, are saying that we're headed for a recession. This is like, really, we're headed for a recession on top of 100 days ago, we had the best market in the world. I mean, we were the envy of the world. Yes. And Rachel Maddow's show focused on the human side of the issues with Social Security and deportations, the actual people who aren't getting their Social Security checks that keep a roof over their head, and the actual people who've been kidnapped off the street by our government and disappeared.
Wait a minute. Why are people not getting Social Security checks?
Really?
Why are they?
Why are they not?
Who is not?
Because ordinary human beings.
That's me and you?
Yeah.
You're still getting your check?
So far, knock on wood. But there are people who are not getting their checks.
They must be undocumented? Or?
No, honey, they don't get Social Security checks.
I know. But
Yeah, no, these are real American citizens who are elderly and disabled, and they are not receiving their checks.
Supplemental income people as
They have
opposed to
no-
standard Social Security
Not
retirement
necessarily.
funds at this point, but
And not necessarily. Regular elderly people who rely on those Social Security checks.
mine just went up quite a bit. I don't understand why, even though they sent me a letter, but it's good to me, so I don't have to understand why.
Bank
exactly,
it, because the next one may not be
Yeah,
coming, right?
Yeah, there'll be a whoops, we made it, yeah.
And Marco Rubio came out with a statement that the government now has the right to deport anyone, not only for what they say or think, but for what they might someday say or think.
Oh.
So, I mean, really, who even knows what they're going to someday say or think? So today I thought it'd be nice to talk about the rule of law, and because that used to be what we cared about as a country. That used to be the way we conducted ourselves.
Yes, and right off the top, how ludicrous is it for this hideous man who has been convicted of 30-some
34.
felonies,
34 felonies.
not ultimate, I'm sorry, a lot of sexual assault, and he has been convicted of rape with or legally sexual predator, whatever they want to call it. I call it rape.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
And if you even dare to criticize him, in the least, he attacks you like you were the worst person since I don't know what.
He's
just a disgusting person.
And he's the antithesis of the rule of law.
Yes.
How about letting those violent insurrectionists, getting them out of there?
Yep.
And then wanting to try to prosecute anybody that said anything bad. I mean, again, I think it's ludicrous to even think about the rule of law with this guy.
He's been talking for a long time about shutting down the late-night comedians and Saturday Night Live and things like that because they criticize him.
The problem is that this country, that's the principle that we were established under, was the rule of law. If we don't have the rule of law in this country, we don't have our country. I mean, it's bye-bye.
Yeah. And again, even when it was established way back when, we should keep remembering that it wasn't always for everybody.
Oh, no. Absolutely.
Women, indigenous people.
Absolutely.
African Americans.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. And
But the idea was
there
that all people have equal standing in front of the rule of law.
And every time Merrick Garland told us that that's how it still is, while failing to indict the Willard War Room that established and set up the finance to the entire January 6th issue, every time he spoke to the rule of law, having not dealt with the people who were ruining that, he gave them energy.
Yep.
He created the mechanism by which they can come back in and make all the claims they're making today. So thanks a lot, guys. But this was Joe Biden's team that tried to make this not go away instead of dealing with the issue, and now we're all stuck with it.
Yeah, I am afraid that Merrick Garland has been a little weak on some issues over these. That's hard to say and sad, but that's my opinion. Candice, I do have to go back just real quick. You were talking about, it seems like 883. It seems like a lot longer to me because ever since his first term and even during Biden's term, the news the whole time has been Trump every day.
Exactly right.
Trump
which he got away with because of Merrick Garland.
Well, yes.
Yeah, a lot of it was negative stuff, like his trials and things like that.
Matter.
But he's still on the air for free.
You bet.
Exactly.
And what's the old adage in show
that
business?
Any kind of
no
publicity
such thing as
is
bad press.
good.
Right. Bad publicity. And boy, he's got it all. And also, here in this beautiful little burg of Brookings, every week there was a Trump rally going down the streets and into the harbor, and I've seen it up at Harris Beach. You're trying to enjoy the beauty. Every week this went on, pounding it in people's brains that this cult is still alive and well, even with all of the terrible things going on. And there's some terrible things going on.
You should just stop by the rally and chat with a couple of the folks. Point out to them the mistake they're making.
I think somebody tried that once, and we received an email. So there we go. I mean, that email was brutal.
Yeah.
I did go to a rally and try to get some of them to come on the show, and that's what I got was a completely ridiculous email that was just, I don't think there was a word of truth in it.
No.
They've been quieter this week.
Well, because they're winning. I mean, that's the way it looks, right? I mean, nobody's stopping this administration. Nobody's stopping them. Even when the courts attempt to stop, like with that poor guy who's innocent and sitting in an El Salvadorian prison right now, they can't get him back. And the judge has said, you got to get him back. The Supreme Court even said, you got to bring him back.
Was Amy Coney Barrett the only one that agreed with that? Did I read that right? I mean, because
she may have been. All 9 of them actually said that
then I retract.
You can't kick somebody out without due process.
Yeah.
But the getting him back is something that the Trump administration is saying we can't.
Why don't they just fly a Learjet there and go knock on the door and say, give me that guy?
Or,
it seems like it would almost be that easy.
Or the next time, what's her name, Kristi Noem, is standing in full uniform in front of them, all of those caged people behind her, have her bring him home.
With her $10,000 watch on.
Oh, my God. Anyway,
and pointing the assault rifle at the air with her friend's head. Did you see that crazy thing? It's crazy stuff.
It's good that there's no gravel pits around there, huh?
No what?
No gravel pits.
Oh, well, yeah, no kidding.
Poor dog.
Care more about that than Kristi Noem.
So the economy, it's something to be to actually be aware of. We know the stock market's tanked. We know that's a big deal, and it keeps tanking. But what Stephanie Ruhle brought up last night was that it's much more important what the bond market is doing, because the bond market has been the safe place for everybody, and not just Americans, but the entire world, to invest in U.S. bonds. U.S. Treasury. It's because the dollar is the currency of the world, and if you wanted something that was a slam dunk, you invest in America, and that has started to change. Big countries are selling off their investment in the U.S. dollar, and that is a problem.
Well, look at how America is now perceived by especially our supposed allies that have been turning into our enemies, and our enemies who this horrific man seems to want to placate and buddy up to. I mean, that's kind of simplistic, but that's how it looks to me.
Absolutely. And definitely one reason why the rest of the free world, of which I guess we are still sort of a part.
We're hanging on, I guess.
By our fingernails.
Yeah.
Is kind of looking at us going, guys, this isn't going to work. You're who are you now? Yeah.
You remember what brought down Enron and Arthur Andersen?
I don't, actually.
Was a young lady in the hierarchy of Enron, looking at things before it all came to press, told them, guys, you're not understanding the issue. Now, Enron had a 6th story building, and on the 6th, as I remember it just as we're speaking now, in Texas, where they took their clients and took them to a window that looked down upon their trading floor. Their trading floor was a couple of floors below, so you were looking down from the ivory tower on the workers who all had fancy computers sitting at desks with 3 and 4 monitors on them, and they are monitoring the economy of Enron as they were selling their energy to the entire globe. They had a fat energy portfolio. They were brilliant. They were the toast of the New York Stock Exchange, and
world
on top of the business world, and really good buddies with the Carlyle Group bunch, the Bush family, and all of those. They up front for hedge funds. When it came out that the trading floor that we were looking at, that they were showing their clients, was all props. It wasn't real. And these were hired actors. They keep talking about hired actors coming to your rallies and what. No, this is how they do their business. And Enron had a prop movie set that was functioning as if it was a trading platform, and bringing clients in and getting them to pump money into this. And the young lady at Enron said, guys, you aren't going to die from anything you're doing. You're going to die from the crisis of confidence when people find out about this. And it's going to take down everybody. And it did.
Wow.
It was the crisis of confidence.
Wow.
What we have in the bond market was the place, the only place that the world had to put their money in which they could have total confidence.
Yes.
Disappeared this week.
Yep.
Gone. Doesn't come back. Think of trust in your life. Once somebody has broken trust, it takes a long time to get it back. And these guys aren't even saying the right things to get it back.
No, exactly.
So that's where we are. It's a crisis of confidence,
absolutely.
And that's what kills.
And when you look at who holds our debt, right? Are the big companies, countries that hold our debt, China. China holds a huge amount of our debt.
The greatest amount, without a doubt.
And if they don't buy the bonds...
Worse than that,
we're in bad
shape. If they just sell their bonds,
yes,
the price goes down.
Yep.
Because nobody who's buying those bonds is going to have the same confidence that they used to have.
Yeah.
Not only that, but in the midst of this, where they're the guys with all the money, all the bonds, right? They got the store because we gave it to them. This was our plan for the last 40 years, was to ship as much of our money and jobs offshore to China and Japan and South Korea and Vietnam. Nobody believes them anymore.
No.
Nobody trusts us anymore.
No.
And Europe is having to come up with plans in order to counter us, not China. And we're still over here poking the hornet's nest just as fast and hard as we can, thinking all those hornets are going to save us. And how is this so?
You know, and the thing is that you can't bring manufacturing back to the United States.
We're going to have millions of people putting those little screws in computers.
Right. But and the point that keeps
as soon
getting
as we
made,
build the factory to do that.
Exactly. That's the point, that you can talk about bringing factories back, but it takes 5 years or so to build a factory, and there's nobody stepping up to the microphone right beside Trump saying, oh, I'll build one. Nobody's saying that. They don't want to build. They don't want to bring the manufacturing back. And what manufacturing are they going to bring? Are they going to bring making sneakers? Because
automobiles?
I just saw a headline in the news this morning about Trump has decided he's not going to want to charge the tariffs on basically all Chinese electronics. Was that a fake news thing?
No, it's probably true.
Oh, I guess
Apple got to them.
Huh?
Apple got to them.
Yeah.
But that's most of what we get from China.
No, we get a lot more. Everything that comes through Amazon and Walmart is most of it's from China. Yeah. How did we not just kill Walmart and Amazon?
Seriously, right?
And these people are talking to him as well.
Yeah.
So
even Trump's MAGA hats are made in China. I believe. I mean, seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was somebody who went through a Trump store in one of his hotels.
Okay.
And something like 40 or 60% of the items in there were made other than here.
Yeah, well, of course. You can talk about made in the USA, but he's all talk and, no action.
And about that made in the USA with Walmart, many, many years ago, I was living in Yuba City, and the Walmart, we had no Walmarts then, and I didn't know much about them. Then they put a big Walmart store in Oroville, which was 35 miles away. And both my wife and I, let's go check it out. Mm-hmm. And I went and I got a bunch of work clothes, not even paying attention. I got a bunch of work clothes, some different things. I got home and guess what I saw on every one of them?
Yeah.
Made in China. And it was all the big American flags everywhere. And blah, blah, blah. I think it's always been a farce.
Yeah.
Well, Walmart would have the people from that made any item that they sold here forever, and if they sent their representative in to pay to sell that item to Walmart would offer them a price way, way, way lower than they've been charging anybody else, and they either did it or they didn't have Walmart as a customer.
Well, again, I think it's kind of a racket, and I mean, luckily we were never on the bottom end where people maybe had to go pay attention to every little nickel and dime. Mm-hmm. But in a way, the people that keep going there, they're kind of jacking themselves around at the end result.
They either don't realize or don't care.
Well, bottom line is money.
I have a friend I call
a
situational liberal, as long as it's not cheaper.
Well,
he raves about Walmart, and he knows better.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that the bottom line is that the dollar is losing value. And that is a huge problem. It's huge. And I think probably a lot of people in the United States, because we're not very well educated, don't get what a problem that is. To have the dollar be devalued. It's huge. It's huge.
It is, and I'll raise my hand as being one of those people. I'm pretty ignorant on financial matters and the stock market, and my wife and I, we had our 401k, which did fine when we retired. But a little personal story and this is just a little snapshot. I have a very dear friend who's not retired yet. Him and his wife, just in the last 2 weeks, have lost close to $20,000. Now, granted, they've got some money to back. That's a lot of money to sit there and lose. And my wife and I, way back when, we watched it go. Sometimes it was like, oh, my God, we're losing some money. Should we get out?
Yep.
No, we didn't. And I do know, I think, the basic thing of the stock market is it goes up and down.
Right.
Now, this is pretty basic, and as long as you stay in. But this last two weeks has been almost unprecedented with the ugliness and the tariff craziness.
And
I
to
know
have the bond market doing the same.
The bond market, that's a biggie.
Is really bad. I mean, they know, the financial experts in this country know that what they're really watching is the bond market. And as long as the bond market's good, then the dollar is secure and strong and everything else. But the bond market is falling off.
Rick, I don't know anything about 401ks. When you retire and you have this lump sum that's not affected, right?
Yes.
It's because, I'm assuming that's money invested. You don't just have it sitting in a bank account, do you?
But let's say you have $100,000.
Your 401k is not sitting in a bank account. It's sitting in a brokerage firm.
So your 401k can be, the amount that's in there can be affected after you retire?
Well, here's how it affected. Now, again, this is mine and my wife, God bless her, rest in peace. Neither one of us were geniuses, but we had that 401k. By the time I retired, it's $100,000. Let's say I'll throw that out. But what we didn't know is when we set this up, the tax laws, blah, 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 what do they call it? Tax deferred. Anyway, we didn't get, but we thought, oh, here's our $100,000. Well, let's put it in. Well, we had to pay taxes on that.
Yep. Yep, so, because that's pre-tax money that goes into the 401k.
And in the 401k, like Social Security, you contribute and the employer contributes?
Not necessarily. Mostly it's just you.
It's mostly you, but most employers do put in like maybe 20%.
If you're in management.
To your 80%.
If you're in management, they usually do.
Well, no, even at, I had a 401k through Local 33, and the production companies, the employers put in a portion.
Well, the railroad didn't for me, but but they always were telling us, "Hey, you need to." It was a good thing.
So what it amounts to is the companies just don't have a retirement system.
Well, no.
It's up to you to save your own.
It was an alternate retirement system intended by its original intention, while they were the same companies that were bargaining collectively in order to create these 401ks with the retirement funds of the employees. While that's all of the things that these big hedge funds are doing is done on the backs of our retirement money to begin with. In other words, their fund operates with the capital from this union and that union and the teachers in California and the teachers, that's the paper money that's in their pocket by which they can go out and borrow other money to do whatever they want with that other money.
So, Rick, you retired. And you, I assume, have some kind of a
railroad retirement.
A way to control how much you're getting a month?
Well,
from that?
I retired from the railroad, so we get railroad retirement.
Yeah, you don't control it. It's a set amount.
It's a set amount. If you work so many years.
Okay.
Blah, blah, blah.
So if the stock market goes down, up, whatever, you're still getting that.
The 401k was totally different. That was the money that the railroad at one time started telling people, hey, you should add to your retirement by doing that. And yes, it helped. I have to
But
admit.
I'm not sure, in answer to your question, I think it's unclear at this point because I have heard it said several times that the retirement funds, and I am assuming by that, like my husband gets Lockheed Martin, a retirement pension.
Yeah, right.
The pension money that Lockheed Martin has that they've collected and put into this big pot, they've invested that. So
that was something that Reagan changed.
His pension may not be there.
Yeah.
If they go under, if this goes all the way down, that money may not be there.
I have the same thing with the price of oil in Alaska.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, and let's face it, we're all talking about people. Trump and his billionaire, they don't care about any of that. No. That's why to him to levy these, what is it on? Or they at one time 125%.
I think it went up to 145 on China.
That was almost like watching kids in an elementary school battle.
Exactly.
Well, I hate you more. Well, I hate you more than that.
I know.
It's just,
I know.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And Musk giving $20 million to a campaign, I'm sure that didn't affect him at all. He didn't have to tighten his belt in order
dropping
to
a penny on the street for us, probably. I don't know. It's crazy.
So the economy's in free fall at this point. Yeah. I mean, they're already saying that the prices, we're going to be seeing the prices go up and quickly, very soon. The stuff that is coming in from China, which is really a lot of stuff that we use all the time.
It is.
So that's already going to be spiking up.
And Canada? and Europe
yeah.
and Mexico.
I mean, I love avocados. I'm not going to be able to buy avocados. Seriously.
How much are they going to go up? What are they, $1 now? They're going to go $2, you won't buy them?
Well,
it all depends.
When everything goes up by 20%,
Yep.
how much can you afford to do the things you really want to do anymore?
Right. There's going to be 20% that you're not going to be able to do anymore.
60 to 70% of this country lives paycheck to paycheck.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is
These
very
people do not exist in the mental facilities of the folks that are making the rules.
No, not at all.
When Trump says it'll be a little tough for a while, yeah, I'm thinking of this person who's looking for the nickel off of this and the nickel.
He's saying it's going to be a little tough on him for a while
Yeah,
because
exactly.
you've noticed now.
Yeah, I know.
And then
it's really annoying.
back to the day 83 of the Trump, he said, I'm pretty sure about this, that on day one,
Oh, yeah.
prices will drop.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Very quickly.
He
The
alone
egg
can fix
prices
That woman can
alone.
buy that woman can buy the 3 apples.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. The egg
Okay.
prices alone were supposed to come down enormously. And I believe he was going to stop the war in Ukraine on day one.
No, before day one. He says,
Before
I'll
day
probably get it before you.
Yeah.
It's so simple.
The biggest egg manufacturer seller in the United States had their profits go up like 300% in the past year in the middle of the egg debacle.
That's bizarre.
That's what I read.
And the
That's
government
bizarre.
is saying, raise chickens.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, certain members of the government.
And I should have brought this paper in. I had a headline I read just the other day, speaking to the. I'm a global person. I think we should all be global. And, yes, care about America, but it's global.
Yes.
The two headlines in the paper were about Russia had dropped a bomb killing X amount of Ukrainian
Yep.
civilians, and Israel had bombed Gaza and killed X amount of.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's going on.
Yeah.
It's
It doesn't stop.
and those two things are getting pushed to the side. I don't hear much
Trump's
about
still
this.
trying to figure out with Ukraine whose fault it was.
Well, really.
I think he already knows. It's definitely
And
Ukraine's
if
fault. It's definitely Ukraine.
and if now I can't think of it. Zelensky. If Zelensky had worn a suit and tie, it'd be.
Oh, I know.
What
or just apologized.
Just
or,
horrible stuff.
just said thank
Horrible
you.
stuff.
Show some appreciation for Christ's sake.
Some appreciation.
Now,
I mean,
we've
really.
done the same thing to the Ukrainians that we did during the Gulf War to the Kurds over and over again. They're the sacrificial lambs in this, and it's sad.
It is. It's really sad. So, moving on from finances, which, we'll obviously all keep an eye on, and it'll hit us.
Can I back up just a little bit? That guy that mentioned Zelensky not wearing a suit, he's Marjorie Taylor's boyfriend.
Yes.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yes.
Part of
yes.
Fox News.
Yes.
And Fox isn't news. I think we all know that.
No.
She had
Okay.
$700,000 when she entered Congress. She's at $22 million, according to the figures I saw online recently.
And when
Somebody's
she
making
saw the stuff coming
And
to
what
the
has
economy,
she done in order to accomplish that magnificent turnaround?
Yep. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Messaging.
And it just, as kind of an aside on the financial thing, they are the Democrats are talking about doing an investigation into that whole market manipulation thing that Trump obviously knew what he was going to do when he revoked or pulled the tariffs back and the market spiked up. He obviously knew he was going to do that before he did it, and they want to know how much insider trading went on because some of his staff knew it as well. So
It is the
find
easiest
that-
time and moment which you have to do is look at the straight up facts.
Yep.
And you know who to blame.
Yep.
And the problem here, guys, is there's going to be a whole bunch of Democrats on that list too.
yeah, and they should get
and they
booted
should get
as
it,
well.
too. Big
No,
time.
absolutely.
Big time.
Absolutely.
I blame them all.
Yep. So let's talk about the First Amendment, freedom of speech for a little bit because that's
While we still have it.
while we still have it. Yeah. because that is coming up more and more and more. I mean, we've got college students who are being literally stolen off the street and sent somewhere. I mean, Louisiana, maybe, I don't know. Somewhere they're going somewhere, and there's no due process, right? So if you say something that isn't part of the party line, the Trump party line, you are in their sights. You
pretty obvious.
And it is scary. And that, I think it's, I try to think, okay, where's the brave warriors that we need? And the reality is that they are very afraid and should be, because Trump is so close to having control of the military.
Yeah.
So close.
Yeah.
He's going to have that parade for his birthday.
When is his birthday?
Huh?
When is his birthday?
I don't know, but he's going to have a military parade going to cost $900 million, was it?
June,
Okay, I heard a little bit about that. Expound on that, or expand, whatever.
It's not too much. He goes to all these countries where all these dictators, North Korea, and everybody is showing off
that's
their.
Right.
And he tried to during his first term, and the military said no, it's expensive, it'll tear up the streets, blah 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 blah, and eventually went away. But by now he's probably learned how to get around all that, and we're going to have tanks in the street.
Well, I think he salivates when he sees people like Kim Jong-un and Putin do that stuff.
He salivates when he sees the name Trump on something.
Well, that too, of course.
But what are we going to do? I mean, if this actually starts filtering down so that literally we do not have, I mean, it's starting already. People are not saying what they truly believe if they are in sensitive government positions or part of a law firm that he could go after, or they're not saying the truth. They are cutting back on what truth they tell.
And the Marco Rubio put out yesterday, I think it was, that not only is it what you have written and said, but what we think you're going to say allows us to disappear you.
Yes.
And we really don't make a whole lot of distinctions between American citizen or not.
No.
So this is all reminiscent of the Tom Cruise movie Minority Report.
Yeah.
And we're going there. In part, I think we're going there because these guys look at those kind of movies and think, ooh, what can we do to mess with them now? And so they've got this lexicon going of things that they can get worse with. The whole point is to depress us and drive us into silence. What happened on April 5th was hopeful. What's going to happen on April 19th is going to be hopeful. But April 20th is the 90-day expiration of his intent that he tasked the military with a determination on the Insurrection Act,
on whether he could,
whether or not he
could declare martial law.
Declare martial law,
right?
And he's supposed to get that answer on April 20th. April 19th is going to be the largest revolutionary day in America that we have seen since the actual revolution.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because if he can actually do that, he will impose martial law.
First chance he gets.
And what happens to the movement then? Do we go away? I don't think so.
Well, no.
I think the people are onto this.
Yeah, I
think
so.
Even the people that have been his traditional friends are starting to realize where this is all going. And because it's not backstopped at the bond level, where the bond villains are going to be an issue.
Yes.
And they have to eliminate the bond villains in order to get the world to trust us again and start buying the bonds.
Yep.
Okay? This is all an easy issue to figure out, but the answers are not good for what's going down right now.
No, and it's a little bit, it kind of makes me chuckle when I think about all the people who are, really gung-ho for the Second Amendment, which is, having their guns. Eventually, those guns are going to get taken away.
Martial law, they're gone, yeah.
Exactly, right? So
but that's the reason.
So our guys here in this community who like to walk around armed, they're not going to have the guns anymore.
But this is the kind of thing that all those guys that have 10 AR-15s with bump stocks and 2,000 rounds of ammunition in the basement are waiting for. They're thinking, this is going to happen. They're probably selling more guns right now.
But do they think that they get to keep their guns?
Do they think they're going to defeat Martin Marietta? Do they think they're? I mean, or what?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, well, what do they think they're? Who are they going?
I when people would tell me that they needed guns to protect themselves from the government, I said, "Did you ever see what a Black Hawk can do?"
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
How many guns you going to have?
Right.
One of the
How about
leading
the drone
candidates.
that's up
Yeah,
there?
exactly.
You can't
You're
even
right.
see
Oh,
it.
that's the other thing. What about drones going into Mexico to wipe out the? Is that like war?
The guy running for Prime Minister of Canada, one of the guys running for Prime Minister of Canada right now is talking about the American border with Canada is where all the illegal drugs are coming from. It's where all the illegal guns are coming from. It's
From
where all
the
the hate
US.
speech is coming from the U.S. across the border into Canada.
Yep.
Sounds like what?
Silence.
Yeah, no kidding. All of a sudden, the things that we have been sold as coming from Mexico, literally we know for a fact that this is how this is working. The porous border with Canada has been an easy place for American arms manufacturers to sell their arms, legally or illegally, and in Canada, it's illegally.
Yep. Yeah. And Canada's such a nice place.
Well, they used to be until they did business with us.
I used to go through Canada twice a year, up and back, and they were always very friendly, much more accommodating than the American side, which
Nice
I
people.
dreaded. And I wonder if it's any different now. I certainly would have a big sign on the front of my motorhome saying, "Yeah, I hate them too," or something like that.
Exactly.
Well, I do.
I'm on your side, man.
I do believe they're already Canada was big on tourism, people coming here.
Yep.
I think there's been a big drop in that, canceling their trips.
There were whole provinces practically that
Nobody's
used to wind up
coming
in
here.
Florida.
And on the deportations and stuff, look, I don't think, no matter what political party, most sane people don't want violent criminal gangs here, no matter if they're made here or I get that. But at one time, now Trump and his cabal have ramped up they've ramped up this xenophobia so hard and heavy that they don't care if they take innocent, like you mentioned, there's more than one person that has been family man or woman, whatever. They don't care. It's just like a mass, take a big inloader, scoop them up and put them in the plane, and whoever is there, as long as they have a tattoo, they're dark-skinned, that kind of a thing.
Dark skin and tattoo.
But we once cared about, if they're innocent or get due process.
Right.
That's out the window.
Due process.
It reminds me, I talked to a friend of mine many years ago, and he was a good Christian boy, he said, and we were talking about the death penalty. And I'm okay with that with certain things, and I said, but never, if there's a possibility of putting to death an innocent person, it can't happen. He called it collateral damage. Being the good Christian that he was, I was gobsmacked by that,
No,
and
it's
that's kind
shocking.
of how I see what's happening now.
Absolutely.
You don't care about taking an innocent person and putting them in these horrific prisons down in what is it? I'm sorry, El Salvador, or
yep.
Nicaragua, whatever.
El Salvador.
Did they speak English? Did they take the time to learn to speak English? Probably not, so let's put them down there.
Well, and there's another factor.
Well, the guy that's
It's
down
not
there
that.
who actually is completely innocent has been living in the United States for years
Yeah, I know.
and has a wife who's a citizen and has something like 5 kids or something. I mean, it's like, seriously. And they have admitted that they made a mistake, that it wasn't an administrative error that was made sending this guy. But they won't bring him back. Now, how do you even get there?
Well, and there again, Trump isn't he violating a federal judge's order?
Oh, absolutely.
So here again,
all of it's the point.
Yep, that is absolutely the point.
And
dictatorship, autocrat.
What some people have suggested is that as many as 75 to 90% of the people that have been shipped down there none of them got any due process.
Right.
So they're all have been violated that way.
Right.
Most of them apparently have no gang affiliations either. They just needed a whole bunch of human props in order to ship down there, and that's for Noam to do her cosplay in front of, and that's where this is coming from.
And you got to think that, obviously we don't want violent gang members, obviously. Yes. But it has not been proven that that's what they are. So
that's the point.
You don't get to just ship people off because you say that they are violent gang members. There is due process where you go in front of a court that actually takes the evidence and makes a determination. That's the rule of law.
Nobody's really spoken of it, but the gentleman who who's we're supposed to get back is El Salvadoran.
Yes.
His issue in coming here was that the Salvadoran government was an issue for him, and he was seeking asylum from them.
Yep.
So that may be the problem that we got. This guy was not grabbed by accident. He was maybe somebody that the Salvadorans said, we want.
Well, whether or not the Salvadorans were invested in that process, the question now for me is this guy still alive?
Big time.
Because he's been there for 26 days now.
And that'll be the issue, won't it?
Can happen in 26 days.
Oops.
Well, very
right?
good chance that he's not. And here again, that's the collateral damage argument that never
And
sits
how
well.
how are any of us even vaguely okay with that? Why are we not just outraged?
Again, the Trump administration was able to ramp up, I'll say it again, the xenophobia that it's been an undercurrent for a long time probably, but they made it popular and fun. I really believe that because I see some friends of mine on Facebook posts. They're just terribly racist posts like, hey, we're glad they're gone no matter who they are.
Wow.
Whatever we have to go through, whatever we are forced to go through here exists for only one reason. They had to endure a black man as president.
Yes.
Oh my God, that had to be so hard.
I know.
And would not vote for a woman.
And a black woman too.
Oh, she was
double, yeah.
I mean, come on.
Sword.
I know they had to put up with him with Obama for 8 years. It must have killed them.
I'm sure it did. And Trump and his wife have
Who's a
never.
Man? Oh, his wife is a no.
No, you're talking.
I thought we were still talking about Obama.
No.
Michelle is a man. I mean,
Melania, maybe I don't know. But my point is, that was so racist. That birtherism thing was ugly as ugly could be. I think that ramped up the violence. I think it ramped up people that hated Obama more because Trump led that. Well, not led, but maybe he did lead it. I don't know. The
more or less
birtherism
led
was
it.
a big deal.
He's the one who brought it up.
He never, and his wife has never apologized to the Obamas for that.
Well, of course not. He never says
he
he's
never
sorry.
apologizes.
No.
That's his thing. He never apologizes.
Right. Never apologize.
The executive order that meant that there would no longer be any birthright citizenship was dated at a time when Melania was not a citizen and Barron hadn't been born yet. So he has literally signed an executive order that makes his child no longer a U.S. citizen, his youngest child.
How would that work?
hilarious.
Okay, if you're I doubt very much that my grandparents, coming from Ireland in the 1800s, became U.S. citizens. They were too busy putting food on the table, would be my guess. So that would mean that my mother and all of her siblings were not citizens. So then I would have been born to a non-citizen. Would I be not a citizen? And when does it end? When do you?
Don't have any idea. I think you would need an immigration lawyer for that.
Yeah. Sorry to take the discussion in a.
But then you'd have to get the due process to figure it out. So,
exactly, and good luck with that.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I could be deported to Ireland.
Oh gosh.
And SCOTUS, what's up?
Please.
Yeah, I know, right? What is up with the Supreme Court? What is up with them?
It's a lost cause to me.
It's
right
insane.
Now again, I was shocked that Coney Barrett did align herself with the. I think it had to do with that the Alien Enemies Act that they drudge up from the Revolutionary War time
1798 or something
but
ridiculous.
What was that? She just agreed with them, and I was shocked because I think she's kind of a religious cult member herself, and does all the other crazy stuff. But the Supreme Court it's in terrible shape.
It is. It's.
And I'll go back to
corruption.
Clarence Thomas is just a
he never
horrific.
Should. Oh God, yeah,
horrible human being.
Watching that whole thing
during his hearings, he actually said that he has never publicly or privately discussed abortion with anyone.
Oh, yeah. Well, and his wife behind the scenes doing some pretty ugly stuff.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
I don't know. This is an unprecedented time, man.
That little guy is out on the wing, tearing the wings off, and we're trying to tell people, but nobody is paying attention. That was reference to an old Twilight Zone show. Yeah.
Well, I should know that because I think I've seen every episode 5 times.
There was an episode of the Twilight Zone where there's some little gremlin tearing the wing apart.
Oh my God!
And the guy is sitting in his seat trying to tell everybody in the plane, and nobody's paying attention to him.
Okay.
We have people tearing our wings apart.
It feels that way. Nobody's paying attention. The thing that I read the other day about the voting on SCOTUS is that there's evidently 2 people, Coney Barrett and John Roberts, who are trading off to be the 5th vote on whichever side.
Okay.
So they just keep trading off. So one of them will vote with the liberals for this, and then they'll not vote for the liberals for that. So who knows why? I think John Roberts has got a lot to answer for.
Oh, big time. And again, lifetime appointments shouldn't happen.
Nope.
In my opinion, no matter, again, liberal, it just shouldn't happen. And I had another point, of course, and it'll
come back around.
Bounced away.
It always comes back around.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
we're in a bit of a spot,
This is a huge slump for anybody on the Democratic progressive side.
I think it's a huge slump for anybody on the side of democracy because we are
the main point.
And theoretically, all the citizens in this country want a democracy.
No, they don't.
Even if they
theoretically.
Even if they don't, and they don't think that they do want a democracy, they don't want the chaos and the unmitigated manipulation that has happened and is going to get more ugly and financial. And all of this cuts back to, we walked here slowly but quite purposefully. We lost the 2000 election 5-4. And by the Supreme Court telling us we had to stop counting the votes. So how is that not a predicate for this? Yep. And in the manufactured chaos in Bush's brothers, Florida, back in 2000. We had the Brooks Brothers riots that included John Roberts, Brett Kavanaugh, and Roger Stone. So it's all the usual players, guys. Come back to haunt us again. None of this should be a surprise to anybody. This script has been written and played out over and over again, and once again, we're doing it.
I think very few, I have always felt like this country has been purposefully dumbing down its population. And the reality is that most of us don't know our history. We don't. Yeah. Oh, dear me, we are just about out of time.
There was a thing on one of the news shows the other day where they went to Florida and talked to these Trump voters, and they talked about why they voted for Trump. And then they just started asking them basic education questions like, who was the first president? Abraham Lincoln? And they were all just that bad. Of course, that's something that television people have been doing for years. But these are the people who thought Trump was going to be doing a great job.
All right, so we are definitely out of time. Thanks again to each one of you, Ray Gary, Rick McNamer, and Michael Gorse, for joining me again to talk about these issues. And I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. I think it's a fair question to ask, why focus on national politics on a local community show? For me, it all comes down to what I was taught growing up, that this country was based on the rule of law and that each of us had equal standing with that rule of law. I recognize that it was more of an aspiration than hard reality, but those were the guiding principles for this country. As we watch the current administration break those laws, disregard court orders, and deprive people who live here of their civil rights to due process, I believe we have to speak up, loudly and constantly, until the rule of law is once again the law of the land. Our government is of, by, and for the people. And I believe we have to stand up for that or lose it altogether. And I think the time to do that is now. I'm Candice Michel, and this is Our Community.
The opinions expressed here are those of the individual participants. Prairie Coast Community Radio takes no position on issues discussed in this program.